Go in live in 10, about 7 to 8 seconds.
Okay.
Yes, guys, we are live.
Okay. Okay. Should we start?
Yes, yes, please continue.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session. I am Riya Panchal, and I'll be your moderator for this lecture series Parallel Practices. Faandee Arts Archival Documentation and Research is an initiative started by artist Nikhil Purohit. It is a cultural organization dedicated to encourage art documentation, archiving, and research practices. Through arts education as an integral element, Faandee offers a range of content for informal learning and professional service to the art community of collection management and art conservation consultation. Initiated in 2016, Faandee has collaborated with Kochi Benale Foundation, Sara Karnataka, run by Arun Kumar Edgy, NGMA, Mumbai, Rachna Sansan AFAC, International Print Exchange Program India, and other organizations and individuals for documentation and pedagogical projects. Fandee's pedagogical work is focused on empowering learning in vernacular media and a wide range of public sessions which can be accessed through its YouTube channel and Instagram account. Today, we start a new lecture series called Parallel Practices, offering the best visual art profession. It is a series of lectures about art professionals pursuing off-track careers. Art profession, as we know, is a versatile field and choosing one from them is difficult. This series brings you insight from artists' life who have changed their work interests. Besides traditional studio-based practice, they are prominent but niche areas linked to education, cultural sectors, service, and media enterprise that require creative minds and unique ability set and proficiency. How did they gain how did they gain special knowledge? What type of education they have? What type of work cultures they have? How do they deal with changing scenarios in professions they've chosen? And how well do they make a living? So, for our first session, we are here with Mr. Mayur Kadu, connecting with us from New Jersey, USA. Mayur is an artist by heart and a user-friendly, user-experienced designer by profession. He has completed his graduation in fine arts painting from Sir J.D. School of Art and pursued his master's in animation from NID, Ahmedabad. He believes that using a design, we could solve complex problems in the world. A small town boy, initially trained as a studio artist, is currently working with the world's leading MNC. He will be presenting today, and later we can take questions from the viewer. Welcome, Mayur. Mayur, you're on mute.
Thank you. Thank you for the brief introduction, Ria. So, as you introduced, let's talk about something else. What you can do after pursuing design education. So, हम लोग mostly जब design education pursue करते हैं, तो there are a lot of blockers we faced as a students कि आगे जाके क्या करना है? Is it only gonna be I'm gonna do some exhibitions in a year, or there are more things which I can do? And yes, the answer is yes, that you can actually do a lot more things having that prior art education. So let me start showing you something which I have put together for this talk. Yeah. So as I said, like, hi, so I'm working as a UX designer in one of the leading MNCs in the world right now. And I would like to take you through a journey of what I have faced in the past and how I became what I am today. So let me start with a brief introduction on the background of what I actually did. So when I starting, I belong to a very small town called Rajapur in Ratnagiri, which is placed in the Konkan area of Maharashtra. So वहाँ पे मैंने मेरा till 10th 12th I studied in that school. तो वहाँ पे it was like a very small town with very little exposure on what you can do. तो because मेरे घर में काफी सारा art background है, my father is himself as a good artist. My cousin brother who passed out of JJ, he has a very good background on what I can do, and I kind of a average student, not wanted to pursue any engineering or medical. What should I do? So I thought like, okay, art could be one of the direction which I can take that time, and I also got good guidance from my family on if no this is the possible career which I can choose. So I went to JJ School of Art in Mumbai. I chose fine arts. तो वहां पे जब मैं मुंबई गया तो मेरे दिमाग में एक वो चीज होता है कि मैं आई डोंट बिलोंग टू अ बिग सिटी, आई कम फ्रॉम अ स्मॉल टाउन. तो वो इंफीरियरिटी कॉम्प्लेक्स होता है, थोड़ा सा कॉन्फिडेंस लेवल लूज होता है कि पता नहीं वहाँ पे लोग कैसे रहेंगे, विल आई बी एबल टू एडजस्ट इन दैट सिनेरियो और नॉट. तो ये काफी सारी चीजें मेरे भी दिमाग में थी जो कि बहुत कॉमनली किसी के दिमाग में आ सकती है. तो when I started my education at Jesus Club of Art, I was very fortunate to find some really good friends like Nikhil, who's actually leading this entire initiative. So we were studying together as batchmates. So वो comfortness जो दोस्तों से मिला, वहाँ पे faculty से मिला, that actually played a lot of key role in the decision which I made after my life in JJ. तो JJ में मैंने क्या सीखा? I did my fine arts in portraiture. तो दिमाग में मुंबई में जाने के बाद मुझे काफी सारा एक्सपोजर मिला कि इट्स नॉट ओनली अबाउट being an artist. I don't need to do exhibitions, or I don't need to do painting once I finish my education. There are a lot more things which I can do. और वो जो lot more things है, that thing is not like somebody came to me and told me. It's like आपको अगर कुछ करना है आपके लाइफ के साथ तो आपको इनिशिएटिव लेना पड़ेगा. So I went to a lot of people. I spoke to my seniors. तब internet was also booming, so I went on the internet. I spoke to people there. तो क्या career options हो सकते हैं? So one of the directions which I got from my cousin brother Omkar, who was also a postgraduate of the JJ School of Art in MFA, he told me about NID, and a lot of other people were also talking about NID, and I wanted to know what is this NID is. So when I researched about NID, I spoke to people that I found out that this is like the premium institute which you can do anything related to design. And when you say design, it's all foundation of all those design faculties is it they just come back to your art education. तो मुझे पता चला कि यार मेरे पास आई हैव अ गुड फाउंडेशन टू बी अ गुड डिजाइनर, क्योंकि जेजे में रह के मैंने काफी कुछ सीखा था विच कुड हैव लेड टू अ गुड डिजाइनर. तो वहां पे मैंने रियलाइज करा कि ओके, आई हैव अ फाउंडेशन, नाउ आई टू टेक माय स्टेप फॉरवर्ड, गो टू एनआईडी एंड लर्न. सो व्हेन आई स्टार्टेड researching about NID, first thing came to my mind is the fees, because NID is not it's an expensive affair. क्योंकि वो time 2008, the institute was costing me around 1.5 1,50,000 a year, because it was a residency plus tuition and everything. तो मुझे वो टाइम पे लगा कि यार 1.5 लाख रुपए अभी मैं अफोर्ड कर सकता हूँ क्या एक साल के लिए, because it was a 3-year long master's course, so I could have spent anything over 5 lakhs. और घर पे जब चेक करा तो 5 lakhs could have been little difficult to manage. तो वो टाइम पे मैंने सोचा कि छोड़ यार, क्यों पोस्ट ग्रेजुएट करना है, उससे अच्छा मैं कोई जॉब ले लेता हूँ, आई स्टार्ट माई लाइफ. पर आई वॉज फॉर्चुनेट कि आई डिड नॉट take that decision. I rather went ahead and gave the NID entrance, landed there, I cleared all the examination, all the interviews. And when I went there, तब मुझे पता चला कि यार it is not that difficult. मुझे पहले साल का फीस भरना पड़ा. I somehow managed my first year fees. And then they had a lot of scholarship programs. They had a lot of fundings coming from different trustees. You basically just need to be there. And if you have the talent required for that course, and if you have passion and the confidence about what you want to do, you'll always find ways to achieve that what you want to do. That's what my advice would be right here. क्योंकि वो fees को देख के, वो glossiness को देख के, you should not stay back from that dream what you want to achieve. You should always go for it. क्योंकि once you go for it, you'll always find ways to achieve that dream. और एनआईडी से फिर I had a very different turn in my life क्योंकि एनआईडी gave me lot of good exposure, not only about design but also about industry, because the curriculum in NID is not very exam oriented. We don't have any exams in NID specifically. You have a lot of interviews every semester. You give one interview with a panel, you show your work, and once panel approves it, आप next semester में चले जाते हो. So it's very intuitive, it's very vocal. It's about, you need to talk about your work. और वो that was like the key turning point I would say in my life, क्योंकि मैंने मेरे काम के बारे में बोलना चालू किया वहां पे जाने के बाद. Being an artist, at times that's what we lack in ourselves. We could not sell our work, or we could not explain what we have done. It's everything is in your head, but when somebody asks you that, okay, explain this, we cannot explain. One of the barriers I would say is language, क्योंकि especially people who are coming from small town like me, English becomes a first barrier, because most commonly all these big art galleries, artists, there is mostly common language which is used there is English. तो डरना नहीं है यार, English is not a big thing. आप it's all about practicing. आप जैसे उन लोगों में रहोगे, उनसे बातें करोगे, you will start figuring out. It's not a big game basically. That's what I would say. कि English एक बार आपने matlab, once you master that language, things become much more easier. Because language is important, you need to communicate what you have done to put your price high. So in IDP मैंने वही सीखा, to how to sell, how to communicate about your whatever you have done. और वहां से फिर I went to Cognizant, because Cognizant came to campus interviews, and then I thought like, okay, why not? I had to pay back some of the debts I had during my NID. So Cognizant was paying me good money. So I straight ahead said yes to them. I went to Cognizant. I did my master's in animation though in NID, right? Being a fine arts graduate. So Cognizant wanted to set up their animation team. So they hired me. तो जैसे मैं Cognizant में पहुंचा, तो Cognizant में पहुंचने के बाद, and I'm sorry guys, आपको कोई भी question है तो just type it out in the comments, so that Ria could ask that question to me and I can answer it on the go. Or else we'll also have a dedicated Q&A time at the end of the presentation. So yeah, I was at Cognizant. I started with animation. They wanted to start an animation team, इसलिए उन्होंने मुझे hire किया. So me and one of my colleagues who are working at NID, we started an animation team for Cognizant. तो वहाँ पे 3-4 साल काम करने के बाद मुझे पता चला कि यार एनिमेशन के ऊपर भी कुछ है. तो आई स्टार्टेड गेटिंग इनटू यूआई डिजाइन. यूआई डिजाइन में गया, वहां से वापस एक्सप्लोर किया, तो मुझे पता चला कि देयर इज समथिंग कॉल्ड यूएक्स डिजाइन. यूएक्स डिजाइन इज लाइक द बैकबोन ऑफ एवरीथिंग व्हाट वी डू. तो मुझे लगा कि यार व्हाई नॉट, आई हैव ऑल द रिक्वायर्ड फाउंडेशन, इट जस्ट आई नीड टू स्किल अप. और that is one thing I would say, you always need to skill up yourself. Right now the world we live in is constantly changing, or wo change ke sath, until unless you don't compete with the change, you won't be able to stand strong in your field. So you always need to reiterate your skills, you always need to add on to your skills, doing a lot of certifications which are available online everywhere now. So when I say I am a UXer right now, तो मैं UXer जो हूँ वो अचानक से कोई एक कोर्स करके यूएक्सर नहीं बना. जैसे आई स्टार्ट विथ माय जेजेस कॉलेज ऑफ आर्ट का एजुकेशन, जो मैंने पेंटिंग में करा. वहां पे मैंने सीखा एस्थेटिक्स, कलर, साइकोलॉजी क्या होता है, स्पेस क्या होती है कैनवास को लेके. तो वहां पे मुझे पता चला कि ओके, स्पेस इज एक्सट्रीमली इंपॉर्टेंट. व्हाट स्पेस यू हैव एंड हाउ डू यू यूटिलाइज दैट स्पेस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. उसके बाद देन आई वेंट टू NID फॉर एनिमेशन. देयर आई लर्नड अबाउट स्टोरी टेलिंग. That was like the main key takeaway from that. So what character is there, how to develop a character, what timing is, how to collaborate with the team and all those things. Then I did my certification in HFI. HFI is a international certification. What anybody can do for if you want to pursue something in UX design. So because I did not had any formal education in UX design, I did this course for CUA. They called it Certified Usability Analyst. That's an HFI certification what anybody can do from India as well. तो वहां पे मैंने सीखा what is user, how to solve their problems, what are mental models, how to look at user goals, what is intuitive, how to do a design strategy. तो वो सब मैंने वहां पे सीखा. I have some hobbies like I'm a professional drummer. I also do a lot of outdoor explorations. So वहां पे those things gave me like all those things about how to collaborate, because drumming in a band, if you're playing a drum, so you need to be, you are like the backbone of the entire band. You basically, drummer keeps everybody together. That's what they say. So there I learned collaboration, and in my outdoor activities I learned how to explore all those things. So it's like I stand at the intersection of everything what I did today, and today that's what makes me a good UXer, which I am today. I won't say a good, but whatever I am. So when we talk about UX as a field, UX is basically a field which is a combination of create science and art. It's as an artist, we always have that mostly right brain people who are good into creative fields. But being an UXer, you also need to enable your left hand side of the brain, which is more analytical, with problem solving, calculative, all those things. So it's UX design is a field which has a combination of your left and right brain. And I say left and right brain. What's the difference between that? So being an artist, we can easily do these things called UI design. So what encompasses in UI design is all your visual design. Visual design is what font
Mayur,
color should be there. Yeah,
sorry to
sorry.
interrupt. Yeah, can we
Yeah.
share the PPT if
Oh,
you
sorry.
have the
I'm not
PPT?
sharing anything. My bad. Oh, sorry. I thought I was sharing it something. All right. So yeah, that's what I was always talking about all these things, and then I was talking about this slide where I was talking about space, storytelling, user collaboration, and everything. So I was on this slide where I spoke about left brain and the right brain. You need to be at a good combination of both the things. And now I'm talking about this slide where I am talking about what is UI and what is UX. So being an artist, being pursuing your art education, what you do is we are very good at understanding colors, what visual design, how the font should be, what shape of the logo sounds good, or all those graphic design things, all the typography things. They all fall under UI design, which is your right brain. Now, when you're talking about your left brain, which is your user experience design, that is mostly about understanding the problem from the UX, from the user's perspective, like all these interaction design foundations. Your how do you wireframe a particular problem to solve it properly? User research is a very important thing. What you do in UX design is basically, unless you understand what user needs are, you won't be able to solve for them. So that's how you use your left brain, and UX design is like a perfect combination of your left brain and the right brain. One of the most important quality a UX designer has is empathy, and we are, as an artist, fortunate that we are very emotional, we are very sensitive about a lot of things, and empathy is like one of the inbuilt qualities what any artist has, and that is one quality which every UXer should possess. And that's why I think that a good artist can become a good UXer because of the empathy quality what we have in us. When I say empathy, it's like, if somebody is having some kind of a problem, so being an artist, we try to understand, okay, what problem you have. It's inbuilt in us, and that's why I said, because we are empathetic, we can be a very good UX designer, as empathy is an extremely important quality to have in the UX designer. Apart from empathy, there is something else which is inbuilt in us, that is a quality of telling a story. And I say that because even if you do a painting, you are into print, illustration, you're doing animation, you're doing graphic designer, or you're doing UX, user experience designer, storytelling becomes a a common platform. Everybody wants to listen to a story, because even if you do a painting, you're in essence you're telling a story. In essence, you're telling some situation out of that particular painting. You take any renowned painting, you'll always find a story behind that painting. So that same principle falls for UX design. UX design में also you need to tell a story. क्योंकि आप क्लाइंट के सामने जाते हो तो you don't say कि हाँ बंदा लॉग इन करेगा, ये करेगा, वो करेगा. It doesn't go that plain vanilla. You basically need to build a story and explain the same scenario to the end user. That becomes like more effective, I would say. So storytelling is something which is inbuilt into us, and that is one extremely required quality what a UXer should have. So that those two qualities, like I said, empathy and
Mayur,
storytelling. Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
could you also explain what a UX design exactly means? What UX and UI designing is for the viewers?
Yeah, I would go to that
Elaborate
in
more.
sure, definitely. So what is UX and UI design is, I'll tell you in a very simple word. I don't want to go very technical, though I have a couple of slides which I'll explain you in the technical terms. So what is UI and what is UX? So what you see on the left-hand side, suppose if I tell you that, okay, create a ketchup bottle, which should have, it's a container which should have a ketchup. So किसी को अगर ketchup लेना है तो ऐसे ketchup ले सकता है. This is my problem statement. So what UI designer will do mostly, because they are very visual, they'll create a simple bottle. They'll pull this left side. What you see is UI design. But does that is that satisfy every need of the user? No. This is UX design. So when you see at this bottle, which is always placed upside down, so you don't need to do aja aja aja, for the ketchup. It's squeezable, so you can squeeze in whatever amount of you want. So if you see this is more useful design, and that's what all about UX design is, making everything from thinking about what problems user may face. You build everything around user, everything around the world of user, everything about what the user wants. It's all about that. So designing as per user needs is UX design. And I'll tell you something more in technically as well, but this is what UX design is. It's basically simplifying things and making them more usable to the end user. So maybe I'll go here first. So when I say UX design, so what it encompasses, any design what you make, that design has to be useful. Whatever, suppose if I'm creating an website, so let me talk about a little bit of the technical side of what UX design is. आपने कोई भी वेबसाइट देखा होगा, जैसे कि ये वेबसाइट है, तो ऑन द राइट हैंड साइड दिस इज द एविस वेबसाइट, जहाँ पे आप जाके कार बुक यू कैन रेंट अ कार. तो ये वेबसाइट बनाने से पहले there could be a lot of things UX designer would have done. आप UX being an UX designer, आपने जाके यूजर रिसर्च किया होगा पहले, कि यूजर से आके बात करें कि आपने पहले कभी कार बुक किया है क्या, ऑनलाइन जाके किया है तो कैसे किया है, what steps did you do to understand that entire journey of that booking of a car. Once you understand that, okay, this is how they have booked a car, now you have some data in your hand that, okay, these are the problems they face while booking and car online. तो उस प्रॉब्लम को मैं कैसे सॉल्व कर सकता हूँ. तो then I'll start putting up a paper sketch, like, okay, this is where my logo will be there, this is where my buttons will be there, this is where I'll choose my dates, this will be the big button which is red button to select which car I want to buy, book. तो ये सब thought process जो है, before I make anything on colorful, it's all that what you do, all that planning what you do on paper. It's like, while you're building a house, your architect does that blueprinting. UX design is all about creating that blueprinting. जैसे कि आर्किटेक्ट जाके आपको देखेगा कि आपका प्लॉट कैसा है, कितना प्लॉट है, जिसपे कितना घर बिल्ड हो सकता है, आपका रिक्वायरमेंट क्या है, कि आपको 3 बेडरूम चाहिए, 2 बाथरूम चाहिए, और एक हॉल चाहिए, किचन चाहिए, एक बालकनी चाहिए. तो ये यूजर रिक्वायरमेंट हो गया. उसके बाद वो पूरा ड्राफ्ट आउट करेगा और आपको दिखाएगा कि दिस इज हाउ योर हाउस विल लुक लाइक. अगर आपने सीधा बिल्डर को दे दिया, उसने बिल्ड किया और आपको बाद में आपको जाके बोला कि अरे आई डिड नॉट वांटेड माय हॉल हियर, आई वांटेड माय किचन देयर, then it becomes really difficult कि पूरा बिल्डिंग बन चुका है, I can't just simply move my kitchen to the left and hall to the right. तो उसके पहले का जो पूरा प्लानिंग है, जो आर्किटेक्ट what they do on paper. That's all about UX design. और वो same चीज हम लोग वेबसाइट्स के लिए या any digital platform के लिए करते हैं कि वेबसाइट बनाने से पहले या मोबाइल ऐप बनाने से पहले we plan things out on black and white basis and we show it to the client कि हम लोग ऐसे करना चाहते हैं. This is what solves the client your user's problem in a best possible way. Or once that is finalized, then we move on to the UI design. UI design is all about putting these right colors, right fonts, right font weight, hierarchies, and everything. That is your all UI design. But all planning happens in UX design phase. For this example, suppose if this is also a car leasing site, there are multiple advertisements, lot of buttons. You don't know where to look at. What a lot of fonts, and I don't know what is going on. There's some face. If you see this, you'll be lost. Like, where should I click now? At the same time, if you see this is way more clear. Yeah, this has a story. कि आप ये book करो, इसको click करो, you'll go to next page. So this is what all UX design is all about. So it's just making the user's life simple and easy, and also helping business out of it. Then what are the key steps we took when we approach an UX design? It's the first step we start with is a user research, as I said. In user research, we understand what user demographics are, where the user is living. वो यूएस में रह रहा है, इंडिया में रह रहा है, बांग्लादेश में रह रहा है, ब्राजील में रह रहा है, क्योंकि एवरी डेमोग्राफिक्स विल चेंज द वे दे इंटरेक्ट विद द सिस्टम. उसके गोल्स क्या है यूजर के, उसके चैलेंजेस क्या है, वो क्या नहीं कर पा रहा है. नो प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट को अंडरस्टैंड करना रिसर्च में, यूजर को अंडरस्टैंड करना रिसर्च में. Then we move on to the next step, which is empathize, which I said like the very important quality. User persona बनाते हैं जिसमें हम लोग की ये सब, because you can't really design it for one individual user. You basically design it for the set of user. जैसे कि मुझे अगर educational app बनाना है school kids के लिए, तो it's not like one school kid I'm targeting. It's like a pool of school kids. There are thousands of kids. तो उनके लिए मैं एक persona बनाऊंगा कि maybe this kid which is maybe 8 to 16 year of old and he wants this to be done. So that's where in empathy phase, that's what I'll understand about user. Then I'll create. In the create phase is basically create an idea, what we'll say. I'll do some mock-ups, I'll do some mood boards, I'll create those wireframes. That's what we call what architects create a blueprint. In UX design, we use term called wireframes. Wireframes is basically that structure of the website, what you create before you move on to the UI design. So wireframe banana, then you show it to the client, get their buy-in. वो सारी चीजें ये create an idea में होती है. उसके बाद then we test it. It's not your assumption or what your study. You need to test it real time. You need to send it back to the user, ask them to check that okay. तो उसको हम लोग वो फेज होता है जहाँ पे हम लोग काफी यूजिबिलिटी टेस्ट करते हैं. तो यूजिबिलिटी टेस्ट क्या होता है कि एक्चुअल यूजर को ले आओ, जो आपने बनाया वो दिखाओ, and ask them to use that particular application. और then it's called moderated testing at times. तो moderated testing में क्या होता है कि एक बंदा उसके आपके बाजू में बैठा है यूजिबिलिटी टेस्टिंग में, और वहाँ पे आप कैसे इंटरेक्ट कर रहे हो वो पूरा सिस्टम जो आपने बनाया, जो एप्लीकेशन बनाया, एंड दे जस्ट आस्क देम क्वेश्चन कि आपको ये पर्टिकुलर चीज मिला क्या आप बुक कर पा रहे हो, क्या आपको ये पर्टिकुलर बटन क्लिक करने में तकलीफ हुई या दिखने में तकलीफ हुई. तो उसमें वी गेट इटरेशंस इन डिजाइन, बिकॉज डिजाइन इज अ वेरी इटरेटिव प्रोसेस. इट्स नॉट लाइक कि आज मैंने ये खत्म किया हो गया बस मेरा काम खत्म. इट डजंट हैपन लाइक दैट. यू शो इट टू द यूजर का फीडबैक लो कि अच्छा ये काम ठीक से नहीं कर रहा है, गो बैक टू योर ड्राइंग बोर्ड, चेंज दैट, सेंड इट टू टेस्ट अगेन, और ऐसे टेस्ट कर करके देन you finalize it, and once that is finalized you push it to the development, and then development codes it using their development material. Then it's a all different ballgame that doesn't really falls under UX design, but you need to support in some way that giving the props for logo, buttons, and so this is how the entire landscape looks like. And so after this, I would like to end my presentation with saying this, that design is not just what it looks like and feels like. It's mostly about how it works. That's a very famous quote from Steve Jobs. So this is the image which I've used. It's like, design is same, company is same, color is same, but one is like kills insects and one is a cooking spray. If you mix it, God help you. So that's why design is extremely important in your day-to-day life, and design has to be taken very seriously. And that is why I say that design could really solve some extremely complex problems in today's world where we are going a lot digital. So yeah, so that's what I would like to concisely say about UX design. We can open it for the questions because I know there would be a lot of questions people might have.
Mike, that was a brilliant presentation. The viewers loved it, and we do have some questions from the viewers. Okay, so the first question is, what is space designing as per your terms by Crimson Studios?
Space design in terms of because there are a lot of different variants of space design. The most familiar to me space design is the physical space design. That is one of the streams in IT companies as well nowadays. So space design is basically when you have a ODC. ODC is like it's a dedicated space. It's a QR space given to a team. Suppose if I'm working with maybe suppose if UBS Bank और मैं जिस फ्लोर पे डिजाइन फ्लोर पे काम कर रहा हूँ वहाँ पे यूबीएस बैंक को अपना एक ओडीसी सेट करना है. तो ओडीसी सेट करने के लिए जो ऑफिस स्पेस should have the branding of UBS Bank. Suppose if UBS Bank has this black and red color branding, तो UBS Bank के लिए वो ODC set करने के लिए I'll have to understand their branding guidelines first. उनका space क्या है और उस हिसाब से it's a banking sector. तो you need to understand all the philosophies related to that space, related to that world of banking and finances, and then design around it. बिकॉज आपके जो लोग उस जगह पे जाके काम करने वाले हैं तो वो स्पेस में जब वो जाएंगे वो फिजिकल स्पेस के बारे में जो बात कर रहा हूँ वो स्पेस में जाने के बाद दे शुड फील लाइक दे आर वर्किंग फॉर अ फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूट. तो and for that particular financial institute it could be completely different. Suppose if you are designing a ODC for State Bank of India, they have this blue color branding. And when I'm doing it for the UBS Bank, they have the red color branding. You can't mix it. So you need to understand their color philosophies and to understand their branding guidances. और वो branding guidelines को लेके आपको वो पूरा space design करेगा, which is useful in a way. Also, it's not like कि मैंने कुछ तो funky बना दिया. There is this big logo at the center of the entire space, and there are these tables around it. So that doesn't help the purpose. The purpose is to create a workspace for your employees who will work in that space. So that becomes your first priority, to create a space for those individuals who are going to work in that ODC. उसके around फिर branding guidelines आप study करके then you can design that space. This is for the physical space I spoke about. Now virtual space design, if you talk about virtual space design, let's say it could be your exhibition design, or it also could be a space what you do in a design as well. So whenever we do any website, that also has a inclination of a space design, because you basically have, suppose if right now if we do for 1920 by 1080 pixel screen, which is one fold of your laptop, तो उसमें भी पूरा स्पेस डिजाइन कैसे होगा कि हम लोग उसको बोलते हैं फोल्ड, कि अगर आपका वेबसाइट लॉन्च होता है तो लॉन्च होने के साथ साथ आपको क्या क्या दिख रहा है, दैट इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट कंटेंट व्हाट यू सी ऑन अ वेबसाइट. और उसको स्क्रॉल करने के बाद जो नीचे दिखता है दैट कम्स अंडर द फोल्ड. तो in that scenario also, what is most important for user's perspective, what is also most important from business perspective, you need to study both of them together and then use that space accordingly.
Okay. Okay, there's another question by the same person. Is which things are are boost for your creativity for design?
Can you repeat that? I could not hear you.
Uh, which things boost your creativity for design?
Which things creates? Okay. I think observation on daily basis boosts a lot, and also your exploration on day-to-day basis what is happening. So what a person can do is, once you have your interest set up, like for me it's UX design. तो यूएक्स डिजाइन मैंने फाइनल किया कि भाई हाँ, दिस इज माय एरिया ऑफ इंटरेस्ट. तो because every field in creative will have a different ways to look at for your inspiration. Suppose if you are into film and video, you need to go to Netflix and look at what new every day which is coming, what how they have changed something which was considered as the best in past. Now they have changed something and there is a new best. So you need to go to Netflix to understand what is going or anything parallel to Netflix. Basically, if I'm into UX, there are a lot of multiple blogs people has. Like one of the things in UX design is we go to UX Spin. That is one blog. We also have dribble.com. I go to Behance where people put their uh, uh, latest work, and you always need to know what latest trends are going on, and the only way you can know about it is to exploring it on yourself. No godfather is gonna come telling you that okay, there is something new has come. तो आपको continuously आपके दोस्तों के साथ बात करनी पड़ेगी, आपके colleagues के साथ बात करनी पड़ेगी. You need to be proactive on internet. Go search what are the best blogs or what are the best websites I can follow according to your area of interest. I can't generalize the 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 areas which boost my creativity because every creative field has its own areas where you can go and look out for that inspiration.
Okay. Maya, when we talk about inspiration, you are from JJ. Then could you
Yeah,
elaborate on how JJ was the main, how did JJ contribute to your creativity and how did it direct you towards this profession?
sure. So when I was in JJ, as I previously mentioned, that JJ gave me a good solid foundation on aesthetics and colors basically. So and also space. So when I was in JJ, I did those. I still remember those first year exercises I did. So all those very basic exercises of doing that onion and potatoes and chilies, drawing them in black and white, drawing them in color, drawing them in watercolor. So those things still affect me in some ways. आई स्टिल रिमेम्बर दिस 2D डिजाइन एक्सरसाइजेस. जो 2D डिजाइन में हम लोग कोई एक शेप लेते थे, उसमें गोल्डन पॉइंट बना देते थे, एंड देन एंटायर थिंग शुड फ्लो, योर यूजर आई शुड फ्लो. वो चीज जो 2D डिजाइन में हम लोग ने फर्स्ट ईयर में करा, दैट वेंट ऑन टिल माय फाइनल ईयर. जब फाइनल ईयर में भी जब मैं क्रिएटिव पेंटिंग कर रहा था, द फंडामेंटल्स ऑफ डूइंग दैट डिजाइन स्टिल रिमेन द सेम. जो हम लोग ने 8x8 इंचेस के बॉक्स में फर्स्ट ईयर में करा था, basically I did the same thing on 4x4 feet canvas in my final year. Only difference was size changed, medium changed, but the philosophy behind that, it's like telling that story, equally distributing the space and finding that golden point. Also, thinking about all those basics of colors and the light. Light is extremely important, what you learn in those previous years. तो स्टडी ऑफ दैट लाइट, ये सारी चीजें जो है वो कंबाइन होके दैट गिव्स यू अ होलिस्टिक अप्रोच एंड द प्रोफेशनलिज्म अबाउट दोज डिलीवरेबल्स यू डू इवन इन नाउडेज. जब मैं देखता हूँ जिसने वो चीजें सीरियसली नहीं करी है फर्स्ट ईयर में, यू कैन इजीली आइडेंटिफाई देम. कि अगर वेबसाइट भी बनाते हैं हम लोग, तो वेबसाइट में भी देर आर हायरार्कीज विच यू नीड टू बिल्ड. कि यूजर को ये पहले देखना है, बाद में ये देखना है, बाद में ये देखना है. और people who haven't done that seriously, or they people who come from engineering background, जिन्होंने फॉर्मल आर्ट एजुकेशन नहीं लिया है और जो अभी क्रिएटिव फील्ड में काम कर रहे हैं, इवन दे आर वर्किंग इन यूएक्स और यूआई डिजाइन, उसमें वो क्लियरली दिखाई देता है कि दे डोंट हैव दैट अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ हायरार्की, दे डोंट हैव दैट अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ यूज ऑफ कलर. फर्स्ट ईयर में हमें सिखा देते हैं कि व्हाट आर द कॉन्ट्रास्ट कलर, विच आर द कलर्स यू शुड नॉट यूज टुगेदर, लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल रेड एंड ग्रीन कलर. क्योंकि उनका ग्रे स्केल का वैल्यू जो है, दे आर वेरी इक्वल टू ईच अदर, दैट क्रिएट्स अ वाइब्रेशन. और मे बी ब्लू एंड रेड, if you use them together, they creates a chromostereopsis. That's what the term we call. इसमें it does that fake 3D effect which gets created. तो ये सारी चीजें जो है वो फाउंडेशनली हमें जेजे स्कूल ऑफ आर्ट में मिल गई थी मुझे, और एनी अदर आर्ट स्कूल विल गिव यू दैट. तो वो सारी चीजों को मैं आज भी इम्प्लीमेंट कर सकता हूँ बिकॉज माई फाउंडेशन इज सुपर स्ट्रॉन्ग एंड दैट्स व्हाट आई गॉट आउट ऑफ दैट स्पेस.
Okay. So,
I would like to add one more thing about art history. That art history, what we learned and how they evolved out from maybe Renaissance to to Impressionism to Expressionism and so on and so forth, Cubism. तो उन्होंने कैसे वो आगे लेके गए? They did not. So जैसे कि Renaissance में अगर आज भी हम लोग रेनेसांस वाला काम कर देते तो कुछ आई मीन देयर वाज नथिंग न्यू अबाउट इट. तो ये जो लोग है जो जो रिनोन्ड आर्टिस्ट है उन्होंने दे ट्राइड गेटिंग समथिंग न्यू एंड दैट्स व्हाट इवन इन डिजाइन वी डू ऑन एवरीडे बेसिस. कल जो किया है उसको आज भूल जाना चाहिए कि हाँ आई डिड दैट यस्टरडे दैट इज डन. नाउ whatever I did yesterday, what I can do better on that same thing today. That is what makes you a good designer. Design has to be iterated on a daily basis.
okay. So, like इससे पता चलता है कि डिजाइन कितना इम्पोर्टेंट था. The compositional value और everything which we learned, मतलब जो हमने फर्स्ट ईयर में सीखा था, it just carry forward as professional life maybe. Okay,
Yeah,
so
it does.
we have another question here which I would like to go with. User experience design as a term encompasses vast set of design activities, but when we look at UX design college programs or jobs, they seem to be mostly about designing for digital UI and UX in it.
Yeah. So you are absolutely right. So when we talk about UX design maybe there are multiple fields. You can be UX researcher, you can be UX designer, you can be UI designer. Okay. So UX it's a term which is very commonly used in the market right now. तो कोई अगर posting डालता है job की कि I want a UX designer. So what they are looking at is like a mix of all these things. But mostly you will find that in a smaller setups. If you go to big time MNCs or if you go to really big companies like Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, they have a dedicated teams who do research, who do UX design, or who do testing, usability testing, or who do content strategy. But you need to have understanding of all these things together. That's what makes you a strong individual to be stepping into a market. अगर आप किसी को जाके बोलोगे कि हाँ ठीक है मैं UI डिजाइन कर सकता हूँ, which is also commonly known as visual design. So only being a visual designer in a small setup could be a problem because a small setup wants you to do everything together. It's not like क्योंकि मुझे UI डिजाइन आता है I won't do UX design. तो कॉलेज और जो कोर्स आप if you are opting for UX design, make sure आप ऐसा कोर्स अटेंड करें जिसमें they'll give you good amount of knowledge on research as well, good amount of knowledge on testing as well, and also a core of it is your visual design and wireframing knowledge, which is UX design. So it, you should know all of them. You can be master of one of those things if you are targeting to work for any leading MNCs or big time companies, but that takes time. Nobody's gonna hire you just like because you know visual design. Okay, come Microsoft will say, okay, you work for me. You'll always start with the smaller companies, and then you will grow your way up to that mark which you decide what you want to do. But when you start with something, that's why I say you need to skill up yourself every day. It's not like कि आप एक traditional UI designer trained हो या traditional UX designer trained हो. You can always take up the job and then on the go you can take up a lot of certification which will teach you the research part of it or the testing part of it. But if you're trying to opt or you're a fresh, you're thinking that okay, I need to start my career in UX design, find out a course which will give you a holistic view. Like ask the person who's on the front desk, ask उनको course enroll करने से पहले पूछो कि आप मुझे research सिखाओगे क्या? क्योंकि UX design is not only about creating wireframes. आप मुझे UX research सिखाओगे क्या? आप मुझे wireframing सिखाओगे क्या? आप मुझे UI सिखाओगे क्या? जिसकी visual design है. Would you teach me about testing? तो ये सारी चीजें जो सिखा रहा है, enroll into that. that would be my suggestion. क्योंकि आपको सब आना चाहिए, then you master on one.
Okay. Mayur, now that you have told a lot of about what UX design actually is, could you also refer some of the sites या ऐसा कोई information है जो before entering into the UX field people can know and read about? ऐसा कोई particular book या
Hmm. Sure. There are these wonderful two books I would like to refer. Is this Don't Make Me Think. This is this one book, and is this The Design of Everyday Thing. This is a Don Norman book. Don Norman is known as a godfather who basically coined this term called UX design. So Don Norman ने actually he first time used this term called UX design. तो उनका ये जो book है The Design of Everyday Thing, these two books are really nice. और आपको inspiration के लिए you can go to UX Spin, you can go to Dribble, you can go to Behance and look out for UI design. Or if you talk about institutes, I would say if you have a good foundation on in education like JJ School of Art or any other fine art college, you can always look out for courses in NID. That is, like, I would say NID and IDC are the best to begin with. But obviously there's a lot of competition and they hardly have very limited number of seats for them. But if you crack through, those are like the best colleges in India which you can choose out of. So I would take any IDC of IIT, mostly IIT Pune, sorry, Mumbai, their IDC department, and National Institute of Design. And NID has its own UX design courses and product design courses and graphic designing courses. So if you choose any of this, you basically ultimately lead into UX design for sure.
okay,
And there are
there's
a lot of
another
private and there are a lot of private institutes which has opened which are also giving you UX design, but make sure they are make sure they have some credits on the industry, because don't enroll into something which they have just started and they have no credibility in the industry, because UX design could be expensive study to opt for. And other thing I would say, if you are a fine art graduate, you can always look out for HFI certification. HFI is like known across the globe. So if you are a HFI certified analyst, any company, because they'll teach you everything. It's a very small course. I think they have 12 lectures all together. It's a 1 month course, and at the end of 1 month you have an exam. But it's an open book exam. But still, there are only 8,500 certified usability analysts across globe. So it's not as easy as it sounds, but HFI certification will give you good hands-on knowledge of what UX design is.
There's another question which is very interesting, which follows your footsteps. Is if any fine art student wants to get into UX designing, what steps should he follow if he or she doesn't want to learn UX design in institutional setup? What is the option in India?
Sure. As I said, UX HFI, I just said HFI is the best place which you can get certification from. HFI is a little bit on the expensive side. It will cost you somewhere close to, I'm not very sure, but it's around 1,60,000 for the entire course of 12 lectures and the exam. But if you have a HFI certification, I'm 100% sure no company will stop you getting in, because that will give you an extremely good understanding of and the knowledge of what UX design is. And there are a lot of other private institute which gives you UX design courses, which I maybe put into comments after this session is over, so that anybody wants to go and access that, they can access it, because I don't have them on top of my mind right now. But UX design foundation is one course online, one you can take. And there are a lot of courses on Udemy. Udemy is another platform which is affordable and easily accessible for anybody. So you can take UX design courses from that as well. And UX, I would say UX design it's not a rocket science. There are a lot of terminologies which you would have to understand, but it's mostly in a very layman terms. If somebody asks me, like my mom asked me what is UX design, I'll tell her that UX design is a applied common sense. That's what it is. It's basically, this particular thing is making users life miserable. They can't access this particular thing because of this particular thing. You just apply your common sense and design according to their needs. That's what UX design is.
Okay. Do you have any particular advice for people who are interested in pursuing UI or UX career?
Uh, in terms of advice, I would say I would talk about mostly all the good things about what you can do once you are in the system. UX design is one of the high paid industry in current design landscape. So if you can pursue your career in UX design, if you are, as I said, it's not about being only creative. It also has a layer of science on top of it. So if you are somebody who is interested in understanding the user psychology, understand it from their perspective. तो अगर आप थोड़ा साइंस में घुसना चाहते हो and you have a good foundation on your creative side, UX is the best field for you, I would say. क्योंकि UX design, as I said, it's very high paid. It has a lot of good work and life balance. Like I start my day around 9ish in the morning. I finish everything by 5 o'clock. I don't have any work post 5 o'clock. I can completely give my time to my family. I get paid decently good so that I can maintain my standard of life. I can do everything what I want to do. Plus, I would say it has good satisfaction because you are designing for the end customer and you are making somebody's life simple, and that thought itself gives you a lot of satisfaction. You're solving somebody's problem, you're making somebody happy, and there is nothing big than making somebody happy in the world. So you are in the field to make somebody happy. So so if you like that, UX is a field for you, I would say. And it's not very tough to crack into the field. You can start with a creative, because you have a creative design background. You can always start your career being in UI design. But to be UI design, you need to understand or need to polish a little bit on on your soft skills. Like you need to know Photoshop, Illustrator, and all those softwares. Or maybe if you want to get into UX design, you need to know about Sketch or Adobe XD or Figma. तो ऐसे कुछ सॉफ्टवेयर है जो आपको आने चाहिए. But you can easily learn the softwares online, or you can take any small online courses to learn them. Like if I talk about wireframing softwares, like as I mentioned, like the Sketch and Figma, they are very very simple softwares. As being an into digital into art field, most of us know Photoshop, because Photoshop तो सबको आता है. It's like it had become a very common tool nowadays. अगर Photoshop आता है तो you can definitely get into UI design. आपको बस थोड़े से there are some logistics you need to check. Like you need to know about the screen sizes and the normal philosophy of how the button looks and all those things. But उसको करने के लिए I would suggest that if you directly go becoming an UI designer, it could be a little difficult being traditionally trained as artist. तो उससे अच्छा मैं बोलूंगा कि उसमें बीच में एक लेयर डाल दो जहाँ पे आप कोई यूडीमी का कोर्स कर दो या कोई एक यूएक्स डिजाइन का कोर्स कर दो. तो आपको बेसिकली क्या वेबसाइट के what are the sizes of the canvas, what do you use for mobile, what do you use for website, what do you use for iPad or any tab. तो उसके जो थोड़े टेक्निकल अंडरस्टैंडिंग है वो आपको होने ही चाहिए. And once you have that technical understanding, I think world is yours.
Well, could you elaborate more about a little कि portfolio building कैसे होना चाहिए UX अगर मैं जाना है? So before entering
Sure.
into an idea, is it important to build your portfolio beforehand, or आगे जाके how does it work out?
Yeah, it is extremely important to have portfolio in hand, क्योंकि portfolio आपकी philosophy दिखाता है कि how do you approach a problem. जैसे कि अगर portfolio मुझे बनाना है कोई भी institute के लिए या कोई भी job के लिए, तो I would say have a end-to-end journey. That's a term what we call in UX design. तो end-to-end journey में क्या होता है कि end-to-end journey is like you start with the user problem first. कि अगर मेरे को कोई वेबसाइट का पोर्टफोलियो बनाना है, तो वेबसाइट का पोर्टफोलियो में आई स्टार्ट विद द यूजर प्रॉब्लम कि दिस वाज द प्रॉब्लम एंड दिस इज हाउ आई अप्रोच दैट प्रॉब्लम. ये करके मैंने रिसर्च किया, ये रिसर्च से मुझे ये डेटा पॉइंट्स मिले, दिस डेटा पॉइंट्स को लेके मैंने ये वायर फ्रेम किया, आई शोड इट टू द यूजर कि अच्छा ये मैं ऐसे सोच रहा हूँ टू सॉल्व योर प्रॉब्लम। उन्होंने बाय इन करा, उसके बाद आई वेंट अहेड, क्रिएटेड माय यूआई डिजाइन with all the branding elements, and then this is what my final output looks like, and that's what it encompasses as a holistic approach. तो ये सारा steps अगर आप आपके portfolio में डाल दो तो it becomes a story. That's as I mentioned in my presentation, you need to create that entire story and then tell that story to the person who's interviewing you, or you are going into an institute for an interview. So wo end to end journey dikhana is very important, and that's what anybody appreciates. If you go to an interview and show directly, okay, ye mera final product hai, so that doesn't give me any idea about what that final product is all about. It may look very polished, it may look very clean, it look very intuitive, but what problem did you solve out of it? That matters the most than what you are showing me in front of computer. So problem could justify karo with the final output. And to do that, you need to tell that entire story.
Okay, that was a great insight.
Yeah.
So I think young graduates को काफी पसंद आएगा कि that अगर उनको UX pursue भी करना है तो they'll understand what to pursue. अभी यहाँ पे एक और है, sites like Wix and WordPress allow users to build a website without coding. Are they different from
Yeah.
UI UX?
They are completely different because those are the templates. When you're talking about those WordPress websites and all, they are templates designed having some problem statements in mind. But when you have a unique set of problem statement, जैसे कि I would say if you are creating a website for UBS Bank, as I give an example, UBS Bank के लिए अगर website करना है तो they'll have their specific problem statement, और वो problem statement को clear out करने के लिए you might not get a template in WordPress. WordPress is basically a quick way of putting up something like a portfolio or a small business website. But it doesn't encompasses all the touch points or all the pain points what user has. So templatized approach lena hai, you don't have time, you can take that approach. But being into UX design, you basically go back to the core problem statement of a user. तो वो टाइम पे वर्डप्रेस काम नहीं करता, you know, because they have a very unique set of problems they have, you need to solve for that problem, और उसके लिए फिर आपका complete flow becomes different. And WordPress में आपको एक template मिल जाएगा जिसमें you would not be able to fit that problem statement exactly the way you want to solve the problem for.
Okay. There's another question. What does the term design thinking mean to you?
Design thinking is everything what I said in the research phase. So design thinking is like it's like a critical thinking. I would say design thinking workshops what we conduct to begin the UX process. In design thinking, you basically go have I may use some technical terms like focus group discussion. You know, it's like creating that entire strategy of UX. That okay, I'm solving for this problem. This is my entire UX strategy is. Or those design thinking sessions where you include the business stakeholders, you include the users, ask them for their problems, or ultimate goal of design thinking is understanding the user's problem and creating a possible solution around it and testing it with the user. So that is what this design thinking workshops is all about. That's like the first step of your UX design exercise.
Yes, a wonderful description and kind of a very holistic presentation on the topic, Mayur. काफी बार या जिस तरह से हम फील्ड को देखते हैं, स्पेशली मेरे कुछ सवाल हैं, जिस तरह से अभी 10 साल तकरीबन 10 साल हमारे ग्रेजुएशन को हो चुका है और काफ़ी सारा एक्सपीरियंस है, अलग अलग जॉब प्रोफाइल्स, लर्निंग, ये बहुत सारा अलग अलग प्रोसेस से हम गुजरे हैं. तो सबसे पहले इस मकाम पे आपका कैलेंडर कैसे दिखता है? सो मंथली कैलेंडर हो आपका, वो किस तरह से रहता है, उसके बारे में क्या बोलेंगे आप?
Sure. जैसे मैं UX design is mostly falls into IT sector. So IT sector में calendar mostly all my Saturdays Sundays are always free. Most of the times is always free, and my day-to-day calendar is like I start my career day at around 9, 9:30, 10ish, and ends my day at around 5. तो डिजाइन इज नॉट लाइक कोडिंग. तो डिजाइन में it's always about, you know, you're talking to multiple people, so there are a lot of meetings in a day's time. तो आप यूजर से बात कर रहे हो, आप स्टेक होल्डर से बात कर रहे हो, तो वो मीटिंग्स में काफी सारा टाइम निकल जाता है. एंड देन एक्चुअल हैंड्स ऑन व्हाट आई डिजाइन इज हार्डली अराउंड 2 and 2.5 hours ऑफ द डे, जहाँ पे मैं एक्चुअल में बैठ के कुछ ब्लैक एंड व्हाइट डिजाइन करता हूँ. तो यू नो दैट इज लाइक माई डिलिवरेबल्स. बट मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम्स इज ऑल अबाउट थिंकिंग about what I'm trying to solve and then solving it.
जी, धन्यवाद मयूर. एक और निजी सवाल है यहाँ पे, पर्सनल सवाल है कि जब हम शुरुआती दौर में स्ट्रगल कर रहे होते हैं तो हमारा पूरा फोकस हमें खुद को एस्टेब्लिश करने की तरफ होता है, तो काफ़ी जगह पे फैमिली लाइफ छूट जाता है हमारा. तो अभी जब हम स्टेबल हो जाते हैं तो आपका फैमिली लाइफ के बारे में या फैमिली लाइफ किस तरह से आपके फील्ड में बन रहा है, या उसका कंट्रीब्यूशन आपके काम में, और आप किस तरह से उसको इंटरेक्ट कर पाते हो. सो उन दोनों का इंटरेक्शन किस तरह से है?
Of course, I mean, अगर if I talk about myself, तो मैंने ग्रेजुएशन के लिए जब 2000 में I left my house to go 2004 I left my house to come to Mumbai. So 2004 till 2021 now I'm away from my house. But it design is a field where you do get ample amount of time to interact with your family. जैसे कि मैं अभी US में हूँ, I'm away from India since 2017. So it's over 5 years now. I'm staying abroad. So I would say design is that fortunate field, or creative is that fortunate field where you can still have a good amount of connect with your family, क्योंकि आपको एक वो 9 to 5 खत्म करने के बाद आपके पास काफी टाइम बचता है, जो टाइम आप आपके फैमिली के लिए दे सकते हो. That you know that still you can always keep that bond. But if you think of same in a technical fields, या business analyst हो, या तो आप coding में हो, तो those fields are very high demanding. तो वहाँ पे काफी लोग रात को 10 12 बजे तक काम करते रहते हैं. You know, sleepless nights they have before the release and all those things. It is kind of unfortunate, but if you manage your time well, even in their field, you can still give time for your family. Design mein reh ke, I would say I am fortunate, and most of the designers are fortunate that they can give good amount of time to their family, even if they are living abroad. Even if you are living abroad, you can always have that virtual connect with your family in the morning time before you start your day or after you finish your office hours.
Right. Yes. थोड़ा सा पीछे जाना चाहूंगा कि आपके एकेडमिक जो पीरियड था जेजे में था, और आज जब आप यूएक्स डिजाइन एनिमेशन आपने सीखा, फिर आप अलग अलग कोर्सेज करके आप आज यूएक्स डिजाइनिंग करते हो, तो इसमें टेम्परामेंटल चेंजेस या शिफ्ट्स क्या आए? क्योंकि जब हम स्टूडियो पेंटर होने की बात करते हैं या कोई भी तरह का एक मेन स्ट्रीम या कन्वेंशनल आर्ट प्रैक्टिस की बात करते हैं, तब ये शिफ्ट जो होते हैं तब उसका एक सोचने का जरिया अलग होता है, क्योंकि वहाँ के काम करने के तरीके, तौर तरीके बहुत अलग होते हैं. तो जब आप यूजर एक्सपीरियंस की तरफ बढ़ते गए तो टेम्परामेंटल शिफ्ट जो है, अपनी मानसिकता में क्या क्या बदलाव आए?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. It does change a lot, क्योंकि जब मैं जेजे में था तो you know it's like in the graduation time पे हम लोग एक बबल में जीते हैं कि एक सीनियर का ग्रुप होता है जो हमें गाइड करता रहता है कि हाँ ये कर सकते हो, ये कर सकते हो, ये कर सकते हो, पर still we have that thought bubble around us कि भाई हाँ फाइनल होता है कि मुझे ये करना है, पर until unless you burst that bubble you don't see what else you can do. तो एक स्टूडियो आर्टिस्ट के दिमाग में होता क्या है कि मैं भी इलस्ट्रेशन करूंगा, या तो मैं आर्टिस्ट पेंटिंग करूंगा, एग्जीबिशन करूंगा, उससे मैं अर्न करूंगा, या तो फिर कुछ कमीशन पेंटिंग्स करूंगा. नो, तो दैट्स व्हाट आई वाज थिंकिंग व्हेन आई वाज इन इनिशियल इयर्स ऑफ माय जेजे. तो ऐसे सेकंड थर्ड ईयर की जब पास में जब पहुंचा, तब लोगों से बात करके, खुद से एक्सप्लोर करके, मैंने कुछ नई चीजों को आइडेंटिफाई करा कि नहीं भाई, इट्स नॉट ओनली अबाउट बीइंग एन आर्टिस्ट, इसमें और भी सारी चीजें हैं जहाँ पे मैं जा सकता हूँ. और I was fortunate that I got some guidance from my seniors or some of the folks which I was well connected with. और वो टाइम पे आई वुड से वी वर अनफॉर्चुनेट बिकॉज ऐसे लेक्चर्स वो टाइम पे नहीं होते थे एंड kids nowadays are fortunate because ये सारे lectures की वजह से they get good exposure about all these things, and thank you Nikhil for creating these kind of platforms so that we can reach to those individuals. Coming back to my answer is like जब मैं JJ से NID गया मेरा mindset completely बदल गया because of the people around me, because of the environment about me. उस टेम्परामेंट की वजह से you basically continuously evolve yourself, and you need to keep that space always open to evolve yourself. जैसे अगर आपने ब्लॉक किया खुद को कि नहीं एक बार ये फाइनल किया कि ये करना है यही करूंगा, then you stop your growth, I would say. तो you need to keep that temperament going, you need to keep on exploring ideas. जैसे कि NID के बाद जब मैंने एनिमेशन की टीम बिल्ड करने के लिए कॉग्निजेंट ज्वाइन किया, तभी भी आई ऑलवेज वाज ओपन टू न्यू आइडियाज, कि मैंने 3-4 साल बिताए वो टीम बनाने के लिए, दैट बिकॉज आई वाज प्रिटी गुड एट व्हाट आई वाज डूइंग. मैंने 2 लोगों से चालू किया टीम. व्हेन आई लेफ्ट इंडिया it was over 60 member team which were working only in animation across 3 or 4 locations of India. So I could grow that team, but I could have easily got into a comfort zone saying that okay ये हो गया ना, अब मैं इसको लेके बैठूंगा पूरा जिंदगी. If I do that, I'll stop my own growth somewhere. So nobody should stop. uh, if you see a big picture, it's basically keep on evolving yourself, keep on exploring on everyday basis. That's what will give you new dimensions, and that's what will grow you as an individual. Yeah, that's what I would like to say.
That was very insightful. काफी मजा आया ये सेशन में. Mayur, we'll just take one more question because of the time constraint. Um,
Mhm.
okay, so the last question is, sir, UI UX के लिए HTML और CSS आना compulsory है क्या?
बिल्कुल नहीं. So HTML and CSS is all about development, which in my slide which I showed the last section in the UX design, that entire landscape is the last section of the that entire scenario. So development is a completely separate team. They could ask you to have some working knowledge of HTML क्योंकि आप जब डिजाइन करते हो, but वो working knowledge तुम्हें इनबिल्ट होना जरूरी नहीं है. जब आप काम करना चालू कर देते हो यूआई यूएक्स फील्ड में, यू वुड ऑलवेज गेट दैट नॉलेज फ्रॉम योर टीममेट्स, क्योंकि यूएक्स डिजाइन इज अ वेरी कोलैबोरेटिव एफर्ट. आपको यूजर के साथ बात करनी है, आपको बिजनेस के साथ बात करनी है, आपको बिजनेस एनालिस्ट के साथ बात करनी है, और आपको डेवलपर्स के साथ भी बात करनी है. क्योंकि कुछ भी नया फंक्शनलिटी आप सोचते हो, उसका टेक्निकल फिजिबिलिटी अंडरस्टैंड करना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होता है. कि बीइंग एन डिजाइनर वी कुड बी एट टाइम्स बिकम वेरी क्रिएटिव, कि नहीं ये बटन करने के साथ साथ ये 2 ग्राफिक्स ऐसे आएंगे, उसमें से ये बबल निकलेगा, उसमें से 2-4 बटन निकलेंगे. वी कैन थिंक वेरी वाइल्ड, बट उसका टेक्निकल फिजिबिलिटी इज देयर और नॉट, दैट विल ओनली बी एबल टू टोल्ड बाय द डेवलपमेंट टीम. तो आप जब भी कोई भी नया फंक्शनलिटी सोचते हो, तब यू ऑलवेज नीड टू गो बैक टू द डेवलपमेंट टीम टू अंडरस्टैंड कि ये टेक्निकली फिजिबल है कि नहीं. इट्स लाइक think of these 3 circles. One is UX, another circle is your business, and third circle is your technology. And if you intersect these 3 circles, that center area is your UX design, user, business, and technology. At the intersection of all these 3 is your UX design. तो आपको सबको समझ के बनाना होता है. But it's not necessary to know those languages to be a UX designer. UX designer's role is to understand the user problem and design around the problem, and solve their problem.
Thank you so much, Mayur. And viewers, if you have any other questions, you can DM us on our Instagram account, Faandee, or email us on info.faandee@gmail.com. Thank you so much, Mayur. I this is काफी अच्छा session था, काफी informative था, and Faandee is actually trying to, just get this art education out to public and to young graduates जो काफी कंफ्यूज रहते हैं कि what to pursue, because art is still not very important in India. So this initiative is taken by Faandee, and hopefully viewers will be benefited from this session and this entire series. So viewers, do continue watching this series. It's a long way, and many more exciting episodes to come. Over to you, Nikhil.
थैंक यू रिया. मयूर, काफी बार हम देखते हैं लाइक ये जो प्रोग्राम शुरुआत करने की जो भूमिका है, तो बेसिकली जब से हम कॉलेज में थे तब से काफी सारा स्ट्रगल रहा है कि क्या हम सही चुनाव कर रहे हैं, क्या हमें पेंटर बनना था, क्या हमें ये पर्टिकुलर चूज करना था. तो डिसीजन मेकिंग में क्लैरिटी काफी हद तक नहीं था, जो कि आज इंटरनेट, हमारे दौर में इतना इंटरनेट का एक्सेस उतना नहीं था बट जितना कि आज है. बट आज भी डिसीजन मेकिंग के तरीके में बहुत सारे फर्क हैं. काफी सारे स्टूडेंट्स कंफ्यूज्ड ग्रेजुएशन होने के बाद भी रहते हैं कि उन्हें करना क्या है. मेरे ख्याल से इसमें जो एक्सपोजर अवेलेबल है उसके बावजूद किस तरह से सोचना है और डिसीजन मेकिंग जो है उसके बारे में किस तरह से आपको सोचने की ज़रूरत है या फिर चुनाव करने की ज़रूरत है, इन सारे की चीज़ों के बारे में काफ़ी सारा कंफ्यूजन रहता है. इसके अलावा फाइन आर्ट, ये उसके वैल्यूएशन जो है, फाइन आर्ट ज़्यादा अच्छा है या फिर अगर अप्लाइड में जा रहे हैं, एडवर्टाइजिंग में जा रहे हैं, तो वो कम वैल्यू का है या फिर कुछ अलग है. सो बहुत सारे ऐसे इनिबिशन स्टूडेंट्स में रहते हैं या फिर खुद के ही जो जिस बैकग्राउंड से स्टूडेंट्स आते हैं, तो वहाँ पर भी सवाल होते हैं कि क्या हम ये कर पाएंगे या फिर उनके लाइफस्टाइल कैसे रहेगा. इन्हीं सारे अलग अलग सवालों को एक तरह से जवाब देने की कोशिश है ये पैरेलल प्रैक्टिसेस जो है, ऑप्टिंग फॉर द बेस्ट विजुअल आर्ट प्रोफेशन. ऑफ कोर्स फाइन आर्ट्स का जो प्रैक्टिस है, स्टूडियो प्रैक्टिस है, जिस तरह से मल्टीमीडिया का इंटरेक्शन हम देखते हैं, काफ़ी हद तक आर्ट प्रैक्टिस और डिज़ाइन प्रैक्टिस में जो फ़र्क है वो मर्ज होते हुए नज़र आता है. जो मल्टीमीडिया प्रैक्टिस हम आज देखते हैं, स्पेशली जिस तरह से हम मीडिया को कंज्यूम कर रहे हैं, शायद वो ओटीटी प्लेटफॉर्म से हो या फिर अलग अलग इंटरैक्टिव मीडियम से हो, हम एक साथ जुड़ रहे हैं और ये एक तरह से डिज़ाइन की ओर बढ़ रहा है. और डिज़ाइन थिंकिंग जो हम बात करते हैं, तो उस तरह से एक्सपीरियंस जो है, जब तक कला में अनुभव नहीं है तब तक उस कला का पूरा तरह से महत्व या फिर जानना जो है वो पूरी तरह से हो नहीं पाता है. तो इसीलिए जो भी स्टूडेंट्स हमारे साथ जुड़ रहे हैं या फिर जो भी ग्रेजुएशन कर रहे हैं, इन सारे लोगों को मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि आपके जो भी ऐसे सवाल हैं, इन्हीं सारे सवालों को एड्रेस करने की हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं. तो आप सारे सवाल जो हैं पर्सनली हमें इंस्टाग्राम, फेसबुक या फिर यूट्यूब के ज़रिए या फिर ईमेल के ज़रिए, जो भी आपको सहूलियत है उस तरह से हमें कांटेक्ट करें और हम हमारे सवाल छोड़ें. तो आगे जैसे जैसे हमको कुछ कोर्सेज भी और डिज़ाइन कर रहे हैं जो कि आपके अर्ली स्टेजेस में आपको मदद करें कि डिसीजंस कैसे लेना है, कौन से किस तरह से विजुअल थिंकिंग को आपको एनहांस करना है, कौन से स्किल डेवलप करने की ज़रूरत है. उन सारे दिशा में हम काम कर रहे हैं और कोशिश कर रहे हैं जो कि आर्ट एजुकेशन जो है होलिस्टिकली तैयार हो पाए. सो मैं मयूर का और आने वाले सभी जो वक्ता हैं हमारे यहाँ पे, उनका तहे दिल से शुक्रिया अदा करता हूँ. ओवर टू यू रेया.
Yeah, I would just like to pitch in. Thank you, Nikhil. Actually, you guys are filling in that very important gap between the graduates and the professionals. तो ये gap जो है, that gap is very, उसके बीच में जो knowledge है, is very important for people who wants to pursue their career into any visual art stream. So thank you. I would like to thank Faandee for doing this, क्योंकि I remember अगर अपने टाइम पे ये होता था तो it would have been way more easier for us to choose what we want to do, because we had the idea that what we want to do, but we never got that guidance. But you guys are doing exactly what is required right now. I would like to congratulate Faandee for doing this, and wishing you a lot of luck with the rest of the lectures.
Thank you, Mayur.
Thank you so much. And let's conclude. And it was a successful first lecture. So, बाकी lectures के लिए please join in. We'll be posting on Instagram constantly, and see you next week.
Thank you.
और सब्सक्राइब यूट्यूब चैनल को सब्सक्राइब जरूर करें so that you get the notifications और हमारे साथ जुड़े रहें. Thank you everyone.